In this video, I will go over 4 SAT reading tricks to get you ahead of 99% of SAT test takers. Yes, 99%, so you can be that top 1% person and you can get into those top 1% colleges. So whether your SAT is in October, November, December, January, February, March, no one cares. The point is you want to get the score that you're trying to get so you can get to whatever college you want. If you're under a time crunch and you only have 1 SAT left, you have absolutely no excuse not to get to the best score you possibly can because this is it. This is your last chance. So in order to do that, let's jump right into trick number 1. This is a go-to trick, reading questions before. Guys, if you're not reading questions before, why are you reading? Like, you want to know what you're reading for. Right? You're not reading for pleasure or for excitement when you're reading these passages. You have an objective to get the exact questions that this SAT asks about the passage correct, 100% right. So why don't you read the questions first so you know exactly what you're looking for? All right, at the end of the day, you probably don't care about the ocean or the shark that the passage is talking about, right? You just care about getting the questions right about the shark in the ocean. If you read all the questions and you write down like maybe in the margin some of the questions that you might want to think about as you read, like the harder questions, then by the time you're done reading, you probably already have answered 6 or 7 questions out of like 11. So boom, the rest 4 questions, yeah, knock them out. It's probably some vocab questions. Who cares? Things become extremely simple for you if you just read the questions first. Trick number 2 is to know your tenses. Guys, look, on the SAT reading section, especially the writing, they're gonna really mess with you when it comes to the grammar. Do you know your tenses? Do you know what past perfect is? What do you want past tenses? Do you know what present tense is? Present perfect. You have to know these other tenses that aren't just past, present, future, or you gotta know the perfect ones as well. So by really going over these tenses and looking at this free guide right here, you can really up your game when it comes to these SAT writing questions and get them right 99% of the time. Because most students, like 99% of students, do not know what past perfect is. In fact, if you know what past perfect is, I want you to comment down below what you think past perfect is without looking it up. Don't use ChatGPT. I will find you if you do that. The next tip is to skip descriptions. Now, this is something that I personally just, invented because I was just so lazy, man. Sometimes I just get so lazy when it comes to like reading passages. I'm like, I really don't want to read all of this, right? And you guys probably don't either. So a lot of times when it comes to these, reading passages, they might have like a 3 or 4 sentences where they're describing something like unnecessarily. And as you read more and more passages, you will start to see when this occurs. You like see how it looks like. You're like, why are they telling me the curtain is like blue and waving so elegantly? Like, I really don't care. And just skipping these words, skipping like this phrase and doing that multiple times in a passage will help you read the passage faster and basically ignore the details that you really don't care about, nor will you be quizzed upon. So skipping descriptions is one of the best ways to improve your SAT reading speed and actually finish the questions for the passage and not run out of time. I do all the time. It's probably one of my favorite tricks to do. I want to say I self-invented it because I've never heard anyone talk about it. Everyone says read the passage like word for word. You guys can skim, and skimming, if you really want to be nice at it, you gotta strip the high-end adjectives. The sentences are using like 30 adjectives and that you just don't need to really like read. Reading the preview before a passage is important because it makes you understand what this passage is about. What's the context, right? Like, why are they talking like old Shakespeare? Why are they talking like they were born in like 1200s, right? It's because the preview that is given above the passage will let you know, hey, this is a document from the 1800s. And you're like, oh, maybe that's why they don't know proper grammar, right? So things like this will help you already know what you're getting into. You won't be like blindsided by the text. And at the end of the day, you're answering context-based questions. So you want as much context as possible. So don't ignore the context that's literally giving you like what the entire passage is about, because it's basically setting you up for success. So if you're skipping that part, your fundamentals are already messed up. Your foundation is gone because you don't even know what the context is about until you read the passage. But if you know it going into it, it's way more simpler. Upping your vocabulary game is extremely important, guys, because what people don't realize is that, yes, the SAT, has a lot of words that you probably do know. You probably do know the meaning of. But at the same time, you're probably going to face 2 to 3 questions, maybe on each, the writing and the comprehension, or both put together, that are going to stump you, and you're going to be like, what on earth does that word mean? And you're most likely going to be in a situation where it's a 50-50 shot, right? It's like C and D are left. Or like which word best replaces the word in the given context. And like a choice D, you have no idea what it means. Choice C, you know what it means, but you're not sure if it's right. And so now you're like, oh man, should I pick choice C because I kind of think it's right, or should I choose choice D because I kind of think C is right, but kind of isn't good enough? So I'm just gonna go for the Hail Mary and choose the word I literally have no idea what it means. And that's really something that a lot of students end up, like that's the position they end up in. And it's because their vocabulary game just isn't high enough. Yes, vocabulary isn't as important on the SAT. It's not anymore. It used to be way more important. People used to read those, 2,500 words for the SAT and like spend their life on it. Like, no, you do not need to read those books anymore. But I will say it won't hurt to maybe go on, a top 100 SAT vocab word guide. That's really all you need. You don't need to buy a book. You don't need to use anything. Bunch of free resources. In fact, maybe if you just like do Khan Academy problems and you write down the words you don't know, then you're already gonna up your vocabulary game, because now that you wrote these words down you don't know and you look at the definition later on, you're gonna be like, oh, this is what that word means. And these are the words you're gonna see on the SAT. You're not gonna see some in the cut words that you've never heard of, like I don't even know, like superfragilization or something. This next trick is literally a test taking trick that applies not only to SAT reading but applies to any exam you take. It's one of my favorite tricks and it's worked like wonders. And that's what I call the echo trick. Now I don't know if this is the actual thing or just something that I was taught in school, but when you're taking a multiple choice exam, okay, whether it be SAT reading, SAT math, whatever, right, it works really well for both reading and math, but really for reading. So if you're given 4 choices and 2 of the choices are like almost exactly the same, like they mean almost the exact same thing, they're maybe worded a little different obviously, but they mean the exact same, like they have the same like truth value, the accuracy is like the same on both, then they both can't be right? So it's not like if A and D are like almost exactly the same, they're like twin choices, then they both have to be wrong, because on a multiple choice exam only one choice can be correct. So by that logic, they both can't be right, so they both must be wrong. So that's a great way of eliminating 2 choices without a shadow of a doubt. And now you're left with like a 50-50 shot, or a lot of times you might be left with just one choice after using this trick, because usually one choice you eliminate right away, and there's 3 choices, 2 are exactly similar. Eliminate those 2, you're left with one choice. Boom, answer is found, you're good, move on. Now this next method is really for in practicing your SAT reading skills, and that is I really want you guys to spam Khan Academy reading passages, because first of all, look at the examples, the basic and hard examples, see the active reading examples, and you want to knock out these SAT reading passages on Khan Academy, because one, there's so many, and there's probably the best database of passages and SAT reading questions you can find. I always talk about how SAT math isn't that good for Khan Academy, but SAT reading is exceptionally well. You have a bunch of passages you can continuously practice, and you can see which passages are really making you, which ones are messing you up. Is it the science, the history, the narrative, like what's going on, right? And you can narrow down what's really affecting you not to like do the best on your SAT reading exam, and which passages you're getting the most questions wrong, and you can just spam that, like spam that passage. Like I should suck at history, and I probably like still suck, but I should spam it. So on the actual SAT, I got an 11 out of 11 for the SAT history passage, so all questions right, which is mind-boggling, because I was like, no way I understand this weird colloquial language that they're talking in, but I did it because I spammed it. I literally just kept doing these passages again and again until my brain started speaking the same language they did when I was like sleeping or something. It was like, whoa, what's going on? But these are the methods and tricks you guys should be implementing in your study routine on your next SAT ASAP, so you get the highest SAT reading score you possibly can, and you beat 99% of test takers, because 99% of test takers probably haven't watched this video and aren't even implementing like one out of like the 6 or 7 tricks I've talked about in this video. So thank you guys for watching. Please be sure to subscribe. Peace.